Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20, and welcome to episode 8 of Direwolf20's Let's Play Satisfactory series, where today I've done a little bit of a thing. Between episodes, real quick, I slapped down a splitter here on this conveyor belt that transfers my rotors up and across. And I bumped the rotors back up to 4 per minute. Even though we're not producing enough screws for this yet, I wanted to be prepared for the future case where hopefully we will be producing enough screws, because I wanted to start storing rotors. So as a reminder, we're producing 4 per minute here when it's running at 100%, when we give it enough screws, which we are not. And over here, we need 2 per minute to make our smart plating. Smart plating is not something we need in high demand just yet. We're going to need it to unlock tiers 5 and 6 a good bit in the future, and we need like, what was it, 500 of them or something like that? So, I mean, we're already at almost 200. So, I mean, like, we're doing pretty good on smart plating. We don't really need it for much else, as far as I know. We'll see if something changes in the future. I don't know if there's other things, but basically it's just for the space elevator. That's all it's for, as far as I know. So, rotors, I just basically slowed down the production of them so that half the rotors we produce go into this storage. And unfortunately, storages are very large and store a large amount of resources, and sometimes you don't want that. You know, I don't know that I need that many rotors backstuffed and available to me to pull out. Like, I don't need 1,000 rotors. I would be nice to have a couple hundred, though. So what I did is I, very clearly here, just filled it with a bunch of iron plates. And cool tip, if you want, like, just throw some iron plates in there. It's kind of a hassle to evenly distribute them, but if you just, like, right-click on a stack, it'll split it in half, and then split it in half, and then split it in half, and then split it in half, and you get the idea. So you can very quickly just throw a stack in there, right-click it a bunch of times, as you can see is what I did, and then decide how many stacks worth of rotors you want to hang on to. So if I want 500 rotors, because I think they stack up to 100, I guess we'll find out soonish, then we'll know that that's going to work, right? So that's one tip. And then what will happen is once we hit that 500 rotor mark, it'll go ahead and backstuff this line, and all the rotors will then go back to being dedicated to making smart plating. So that's just a little tweak that I made between episodes. As you can see, all the lights are red because we once again ran out of power. Which is super annoying, and which is why we are now going to immediately start working on coal power plants. That is what I want to get going. That is what I'd like to see happen. But I want to just take a peek over here and just validate that, yeah, everybody has run out of fuel, which is exactly what I would expect from this setup. And I'm just tired of manually having to craft biofuel, right? Like I said, a smart person would probably automate it a little bit. I don't want to set up a whole biofuel production line because I know we very quickly can get into coal. And that's what we're going to do today. Oh, one more thing I did between episodes before we go out to our coal area. I want to note to you guys, remember in the past I was splitting these 30 copper ingots into 15 iron wires and 15 iron wires. Well, now I turned one of these iron wire makers into a copper sheet maker. So it needs 20 copper per ingot to make 10 copper sheets per minute. And as you can see here, I've accumulated a healthy amount. I've got about 200 plus 200 plus 2, so 402 copper sheets, which will be used for the piping that we're going to need for the water. So let's head out to where we found our coal last episode. We're going to start looking at making coal miners. I'm probably going to dedicate a little bit of biofuel production in that area to making coal. So I'm going to have like a separate power grid with just a couple biofuel generators to start pumping coal into the coal power plants just to get it going. And then we're going to run some power lines over to our main base from the coal area so that we can power our main base with coal power. That is the plan. So with me, I am bringing lots and lots and lots of rotors. You know, I want to grab a couple more items. So I'm going to collect a few more items from the base here, make sure I've got a lot of everything, because here's the deal. When you're running out to a faraway place like that, it takes a few minutes to get out there. If you get all the way out there after a 3 or 4 minute run, and then you're like, oh, I forgot iron plates, you're going to be really upset with yourself. So make sure you've got a hefty amount of resources, right? So I've got a few hundred iron plates. I want to make sure I've got a couple extra of these guys here, so plenty of that stuff. We've got lots of reinforced plates. We've got the iron plates. We've got a good handful of motors. You know what I want to bring with me? Because I don't think I've even grabbed a stack or two of these yet. I want to bring some of these doohickeys, modular frames, right? Now, my inventory is getting surprisingly full with all the junk that I've got in it, but that's okay. It's okay. It's going to be fine. I think it's going to be worth it to bring all this stuff. And as you can see, I'm also bringing a ton of concrete because I want to build a big foundation. So with that said, I've got, I think, everything I need to really get this thing going, right? As a reminder, we need water extractors, right? We're going to need a hefty amount of them. We're probably going to need some miners. We're going to need, I don't think we need smelters out there. But what we will need is coal generators, which, again, need a hefty amount of rotors. I don't think we have enough rotors, to be honest with you. So I might make like another 100-ish of those real quick off camera. I'm just going to craft a bunch because we do need a lot of rotors, both for the water production and for the coal power plants. And we want a good number of these, believe it or not. So we'll be back in a minute once we're good here. And yeah, I don't want these 2 copper sheets. I'm just going to avoid them. Remember, copper's infinite. It's fine. Don't feel bad. And maybe I don't know. We'll see. But back in a sec after I craft stuff. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to run out to the coal area as well after I'm done crafting these extra rotors by hand. So I will meet you guys back out by the coal power plant area that we're going to build. So be right back. All right, guys. We are here at what's going to be our coal power plant area. So looks like, did these guys respawn? I didn't think monsters respawned. But I ran into those 2 other dudes. I'm a little bit not thrilled about these guys being here, but whatevers. It's all good. So here's what I'm thinking. I want to build up above the ground a little bit. And this outcropping, to me, looks like an ideal place to start building. So what I think I'll do is kind of, you know, build it out. Like if I just started like here-ish, how does that feel? Does that feel nice? Yeah, that should be like a nice bit of area. Look at that awesome waterfall, by the way. Can we just talk about how cool that looks? And then what we can do is something like this. And that. And then if we really wanted to be fancy, go out there, there, and give ourselves a little bit more foundation off in that direction. 4 more in that direction? That should be a good start. I like this. Yeah. Lock it in. Where are we at here? We could go 1 more out. Yeah, that's cool. Remember, Alt and Shift and mouse wheeling and all the things. How cool! That looks nice to me. And then a smart move would probably be to have some kind of ramp that extends downwards. Oops, not what I wanted. I have to remember that it doesn't automatically lock in. That should be cool. Yeah, look at that. That's a nice big platform for our coal power plants. Okay, not a bad foundation. So let's talk coal power plants because they're really big. Did I mention they're really big? They're really big. And what I've found to be a good design is to have 2 of them facing each other. So what am I talking about here? Let's show you. So if we take a look at coal power plants, they are quite large, and you'll see. Let's see. Let's kind of line this up in a rather intelligible way, like there-ish. Bum, 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 bum. They're very tall too. They're big. They're tall. They're all kinds of coal power planty, and the models in this game are just gorgeous. Can we talk about how great they look? They are just beautiful, all around. Gorgeous. And you can see here there's a configuration, so we basically have to insert fuel, and we have to insert water, right? So you'll note here the consumption of water is 45 M3 per minute. That's going to be a thing that we care about, right? And I guess we'll figure out how much coal it's going to use once we actually insert some. You can overclock these, by the way. Not worth it, in my opinion. Just build more. That's basically what you're going to want to do. The other thing to note is that your coal generators will also constantly consume coal. So don't forget that part either. It's an important note. The other thing here you'll see is that each coal generator produces 75 megawatts of energy. So if we place 3 of these, we will now match the amount of power we're currently producing with biofuel, right? So quite nice. Now what I want to do is copy this dude and kind of align him almost identically, but with enough space in the middle to run through. And we're going to look something like that. Now, one thing you'll note right off the bat is that the pipes and the inputs won't line up. But that's okay. We'll deal with that. Ish. We'll figure that out. Cool. So let's get like 4 of these to start, and we'll kind of figure this out, and we'll go from there, right? So remember, holding control, it'll snap the grid lines almost perfectly. Just don't forget to line up your guys like, you know, facing the right direction. And that's our first set of coal power plants, right? So that's pretty cool. Now let's head over to the coal production line. We're going to figure out, well, how do I want to do this? There's 2 components here that we need to worry about, water and coal. So part of me wants to say, let's get the water flowing and throw a little bit of coal in just to see how many of each we're going to need. Because we're going to need water pumps to bring water up. And we're going to need coal coming in, and we're going to have to figure out how much coal per minute and how much water per minute we need. So let's start placing these so we can kind of see what the fuel needs are here before we go much further. So I'm going to go ahead and check out my next production line, which is water extractors. These guys are cool. Default extraction rate of 120 M3 per minute with a head lift of 10 meters. I'm going to tell you what that means in a minute. Allows fluids to be transported 10 meters upwards. There you go. That's what it means. Extracts water from the body of water it is built on. Note that water needs to be deep enough that rivers do not commonly suffice. So we're going to go ahead and place a water extractor right here-ish. And we can rotate this guy kind of however we want. But, you know, boop. How nice is that, huh? Pretty cool. Now, if we came over here and swam over to it, we'd see that there's, it's going to need a little bit of power, 20 megawatts per second, right? It's going to produce 120 M3 per minute, right? So remember, coal power plant needed 45. This produces 120. You might be seeing the math doesn't perfectly add up here, but that's okay. We're going to have multiple, you know, water producers, and we'll figure that out. Cool. We can see the flow rate. With the max flow rate is 600 M3 per minute. I'll talk about that in a minute. Current amount of water in Extractor 200. So let's go ahead and, like I said, we wanted to kickstart this process with biofuel, right? So I'm going to build a couple biofuel power plants right over here. Okay. So a couple biomass burners. Okay. And we will connect them up. And that'll be cool, right? So let's get, you know, we're going to take you, and you. We shouldn't need many, right? So 21 here, 21 here, and 21 here should get things going. And you can see the water turbine starting to spin. Now, water is infinite in this game, so as long as you're in a giant lake, you're never going to run out of water, which is nice. You can see our turbine spinning up. He's starting to produce water. He's filling up his internal buffer there, right? Current amount in Extractor. You can see that, you know, filling in. Sweet. So we're basically producing water, which is cool. All right, now let's get our water up here where we need it to be. Now, head lift is important, right? So what do I mean by head lift? When we place, and what I should probably have here, logistics, I think. Pipes. Now I think there's a, how do I get to number 2? There we go. Mouse wheel and Alt will get me there. Cool. So let's do pipeline mark 1, junction cross, and the pump we'll put there. Cool. So pipes, kind of like conveyor belts, you can just connect to a thing and then run them however you want. You can also use your mouse wheel to turn the output. So very much the same mechanics as the as the conveyor belts. But there are some slight differences that I'll talk about here. So let's get the water coming up first. And as we build it, we'll see that we have a nice flow rate coming in here, current amount of water in pipe, max flow rate in a pipe is 300 M3 per minute. So that means each pipe can do 300 M3 per minute. And the pumps can do 120, right? So we're going to want to keep those numbers in mind because, you know, we might need multiple pipes and multiple things. We'll kind of figure it all out. Don't worry too much about it. We'll get there, right? So he's producing over here 120 per minute. He can handle 300 per minute. So again, we're going to have multiple pumps and multiple pipes and all that stuff. Cool? Now, if you start going vertically, like we're going to go up here, you might need a pump. And what that does is it basically, water doesn't like going uphill, right? Just like in the real world. So what I'm going to do is bring this guy right up to about here. And I'm going to kind of center him so that he's roughly centered. How does that feel? Does that feel pretty good? It's pretty close to centered, right? Yeah. Now there's a couple ways, by the way, that we can do this. You'll notice on the build menu on the bottom there, there's options for build, sample building, build menu, all the stuff that we normally see, but there's also toggle build mode. If we hit that, it'll change us from default build mode. See, it says in orange right above the resource requirements, current build mode default. We can change that to conveyor 2D. We can change it to vertical, which will look like this more so, and default. I'm pretty sure these are just cosmetic, like literally that's all the difference. But I mean, that vertical mode looks pretty neat, right? Or we can just leave it like this. It's kind of however you want, right? Man, that looks really cool. Now, unfortunately, I don't think there's an easy way to determine how tall this is, right? I don't know how tall this is. And by the way, you can totally do like this, and you can wrap it around and all that stuff, right? I kind of want to like, let's do this. I like that. Now, I don't know if that's 10 meters or not, right? I guess what we would see is the flow rate. The flow rate's going to drop as the thing fills up, right? So that's important to note. You can also flush it if you want to drain it out, right? Completely void all the liquid that's currently in there. So if you're going too tall, and I'm going to do this here just to demonstrate it, but if you're trying to go up really high into the world, you're going to need to add these pumps, which are pretty neat. And you'll notice that when you add them, it kind of indicates, look at that, that's awesome. That's kind of newish, I think. Yeah. So if I build this pump here, it's going to pump the water, basically give it a little bit of an extra oomph to get it to where it needs to go. Cool. So now let's bring a power line over to here. And these guys need power. And that'll add a little bit of extra oomph to the pipe and allow it to pump more up vertically, right? So you can see flow rate, max flow rate, head lift is 8.9. Recommended max head lift is 20. So I think what this means is that this pump is going up 9 meters, right? You need a pump if you're going more than 10. So it's pretty darn close, so it's probably not a bad idea to have it. The max head lift is 20. So if you were going up 40 meters, you would probably want like 2 or 3 of these, right? Just to make sure that you have enough head lift to get that flow rate going up. So long story short, water doesn't like going up a pipe without a pump pushing it. Simple, straightforward. Cool. Now, let's go ahead and place some of these dudes here, right? So what I'm going to do is try to line this up in a reasonably intelligible way. Now what I've found, and I found this in previous versions of the game, and it looks like it's still true, you want to kind of be up above the pipe for the green lines to render. For some reason, if you're at the same Y level as or below the pipe, the green lines just don't show up. But if you're above it, they do. So what we want to do is get a little bit above the pipe, like it was just a second ago, there we go, and you'll see the green lines show up. Cool. And this is a junction cross, it's a splitter, basically. So we're going to want one here, here, and here. And then we can do this, right? Cool. So now, the water that's coming up here will start splitting into these guys, right? So 45, 90, and there's some math we can do. My memory serves that 8 is the number we want, right? Because... Hey Siri, what's 8 times 45?
8 times 45 is 360.
Hey Siri, what's 360 divided by 120?
365 divided by
No,
120.
not 365. Hey Siri, what's 360 divided by 120?
360 divided by 120 is 3.
Cool. So that's why 8 is the number of power plants you want. Because 45 water per minute times 8 power plants is 360 water per minute. These guys produce 120, so it's 3 water pumps to 8 power plants. Got it? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to now double this setup, right? So we're going to boop, 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 boop. 1, 2. 1, 2. And then we're going to, I can get on here, I know I can. Come on, killing me, Smalls. There we go. We're gonna copy this guy, and we're gonna boop, 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 and there you go. Cool, so now we've got 8 power plants. Cool. So now we should be getting water in all 8 of our power plants. Now remember, these guys will all consume as much coal as you can possibly throw at them, right? They'll max consume all the time. So we're going to want to go ahead and set up our pumps here, right? Now here's another important note to remember. Okay, super important. Pipes can only handle 300 per minute. We need, remember, 360. So what I'm thinking I'll do is have a second pump over here. Okay. Like so. I'll bring a power line up here to connect to him. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a junction pipe right here. And you can mouse wheel this, by the way, to spin it around. And then we'll have a pump, or a pipe, going over to here. And I'm just going to put you on default mode. Cool? So that's 120, 120, 240, right? 240 water per minute. Or second, or whatever it is. Right? Now, we can't put a third one there because that would be 360. But what we can do is put a third one over on this side and run it into this dude, right? So what we could do is maybe what I'd like to have, if you get on this thingy and angle it just right, you should be cool. But I think I'm going to have a pipe junction here. Just so I can have a nice straight line all the way over to here. Right? So this way the water will come in this way and go off in that direction. Right? And then as we expand this, we might have another 8 power plants going off in that direction eventually. Because believe it or not, we will need that much power at some point. So then all we have to do is have this guy coming into here. And I'm going to put him on vertical mode too. And just to be extra safe, right, I'm going to go ahead and throw one of these dudes in here. Okay. So let's slide under here. I'm going to run a power line over to here. And then that power line can power you and you. And that should get that guy up and running. and pumping water. And that should be enough water for all 8 power plants. Exactly enough water. Now, your next question to me is probably, Direwolf, how are you going to pump coal into these things? You're blocking all the inputs. Well, remember, we have this. And that's how we're going to get coal into there. But before we do that, let's go ahead and figure out how much power per minute we're going to be generating with some coal. So I'm just going to throw a few pieces of coal in there. How about 9? So it uses 15 coal per minute. It currently has no connection, by the way, so we should probably, you know, get connections going. So I'm going to put a power plant line right there. And I'm going to connect these guys like this, right? Does that sound cool? And then you can come over here to the middle of you two. You can come over here to the middle of you two. And you will go this, and this, and you will go this, and this. And then this guy I'm going to bring up to here, and he will connect to him, and him. So now we should have all of our power plants connected to power, right? So that's pretty cool. Yeah, buddy. Look at that. I like it. Now this guy should be running all the time, right? So he does 15 coal per minute. So we're going to need 15 times 8 coal per minute, right? Right? So that would be 120 coal per minute is what we need? Is that right? Hey Siri, what's 15 times 8?
15 times 8 is 120.
There you go. So we need 120 coal per minute in order to satisfy all 8 coal power plants. Got it? Good. And here's a neat trick. We can disconnect this power line and leave these guys here, right? And what we'll find is that they will save their biofuel that they've gotten there. And this will be our emergency need to get power running again area, right? So if we run into a situation where we run out of power, we can come over here and turn these on to jumpstart our coal generators again. Good deal? So these guys will sit here. They won't consume any fuel because they're not actually powering anything. See, their capacity is 90. Their production and consumption are 0, right? So we're not using any power because we disconnected these lines. So this is going to be like an emergency reconnect situation, right? Oh no, we ran out of power. We have to reconnect it kind of deal, right? So now let's head over to our coal area and see what we can get by way of digging. So what I want is, I believe I'm going to want 2 portable miners. 1, 2. And if we ping for coal, it's around here somewhere. Coal is like right here-ish. Right, but I remember the 2 nodes were over here, and I think they were normal nodes, weren't they? Yep. So this is a normal node, so that's going to be 60 per minute. And this is a normal node, so that's also going to be 60 per minute, right? So let's get our miner mark 1 and our miner mark 1. You guys are going to both need power, by the way. So let's not forget that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring conveyor belts, roughly speaking, to here. We're going to have a merger, roughly speaking, here that's going off in that direction. So we can connect this conveyor belt 1, which does 60 per minute, this conveyor belt 1, which does 60 per minute, and then conveyor belt 2, which does 120 per minute, will come out in this direction. Now my hope is that I have enough of these reinforced iron plates. If I don't, I might have to craft a few more just to get us going, but that should be cool. And then also, let's not forget power, right? So let's get power coming out this way. And I usually just, for, you know, the purposes of looking nice, like to run my power lines along my conveyor belts. Okay. Now, we're going to be tight on this conveyor belt thing. Also, you'll notice sometimes conveyor belts will clip through the terrain, so you might need to do something like this just to prevent that. It works. It's not gonna actually stop. It just doesn't look cool. It looks weird. I don't like the way it looks. So, you know, we're gonna try to prevent that from happening just for visual looking cool reasons. Okay, we are definitely getting close to where we want to be. So let's connect you up to the main power grid here. So that'll get our coal miners running once we actually have power to power it. So I might want to, we'll see in a minute. We'll get it connected and get the ball rolling. Okay. Now, I strongly suspect that I am a little bit low on reinforced iron plates. So I'm going to manually craft a good number of those right now, just so we have enough to finish this next step. Cool. So lots of screws, back in a minute. All right, so let's see what we can do to get this behaving. So what I'm gonna want is for you to come up here-ish. And I like to count how many ticks up I go so that I keep everything the same, right? So 1, 2, 3 ticks up sound cool? And then for you, we're gonna want 1, 2, 3 ticks up there. Okay, now here's a question. Can I put splitters directly on these yet? No, it doesn't look like I can. Now there's some trickery you can do if you can get really lucky. I think. Floor is too steep, not doing what I want you to do. I really wanted the belt to be right there, so I want to be able to connect my conveyor splitter, but like you can't connect it right onto that thing. So let me see what I can come up with here. So there's this trick that I found, is if you try to place a conveyor belt here, right, but then you immediately look at the ground right under it, you get to a point where you see a green line there, you can place it, and it'll actually let you do that. Now the problem is you actually have to be able to look at the ground there. So if there's something in the way, like there was for a moment ago, it may not work out too well. But let me get all these on here. But then once you've got that belt there, you can go ahead and put your splitter right on the belt, which is cool. Super cool. Okay. So what I'm going to do is probably remove most of these pipes that are in my way and build the remainder of these. And then we'll just rebuild the pipes, because it's no big deal. Yeah, the pipes are easy to rebuild. And this is just like a sneaky way to get vertical splitters like perfectly lined up. And we'll clear this one out too. Cool. And this one. So what I'll do is copy all these. So remember, 1, 2, 3. Can't afford. Oh, I need more iron plates. Yeah, because I had to use so many iron plates to make those. All right. Yeah, let's go get iron plates. You know what? I think we're pretty close to the wrapping up point for this episode. So how about we wrap up here? I'll get back to my base, gather a few extra supplies, right? And then we will come back next episode and we will finish the coal power plant build. Because we have a little bit more work to get it to look really nice and good. So for now, Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll come back next time and get the coal power plants finished. Then we will have automated power production. We will no longer have to cut down trees. We will no longer have to manually do anything as it relates to power. And I'm very much looking forward to that. So, Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I'm getting attacked. There he is. Get back here, you. Alright, guys. Take it easy.